Sportskeeda, top story of the day. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and get into the conversation live with us. We are streaming every weekday in the 5 p.m. Central Hour, and we have a lot to talk about. AEW ratings have taken a dip. They are below 1 million viewers. Plus, we have big news about WWE releases and earnings that are coming through. WWE reporting some big money earnings, and of course some heavily rumored, not yet reported moves that could see some people let go from the company yet again. Let's get into all of it on today's Sportskeeda Wrestling top story of the day. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. What's up, everybody? I'm Kellam, Jose G with me, Jeremy Bennett as well. Let's get right into it, boys. A lot of news to report here. AEW Dynamite dropping in the ratings. We'll talk about the looming and hopefully not bad WWE releases that are heavily reported today by several different sources. Nothing confirmed just yet. We'll get into all of it. I know some people are going to be asking us, do we know of any? We don't know of any right now, but we'll get into it. And if it happens, we'll be talking about it. A little bit of a programming reminder. We have the Inside Cradle. We do it every Thursday. Usually we tape the show. Today with the news day, we felt we're going to do it live. So that will be live at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. So make sure you hang out for that. And that'll be a full Q&A. You guys will be able to ask us anything like that. And we'll do a Freestyle Friday tomorrow as well. Enough housekeeping. Let's get into these Dynamite numbers. Jose, what's up?
Yeah, man. Dynamite, man. It's under 1 million again for the second week in a row. But the interesting thing here about this story is that it's it's lower than last week. So Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics is reporting today that the average total viewership for AEW last night was 878,000. In the demo, it brought in a 0.32, 424,000. This is down from last week, which was around 941,000 viewers last week, with the rating around 0.4. And what's interesting about this is because they simulcasted live coast to coast, which meant that the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time was 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which there's not a lot of people that's going to be tuning in to watch wrestling at 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
No,
I can tell you that from the get, right? So this is the second week they've been doing this. A lot of people online are complaining and saying, well, what's going on? This is not going to be good. This is going to be the trend until the end of the year, until they get to TBS.
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought that this was, they were going to score 1 million. I thought it was a really good show last night. So I was a little surprised that we didn't get at least the same number or close to last week's number. But this is kind of a shocker. This is their lowest number since July, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, and so the Andrew Zarian brought up that good point there about the West Coast, and so people are going to be on their hour-long drive home on the West Coast, getting to dinner and whatnot. So they're that's going to be a big drop there. The Challenge is back on MTV as well. That's usually a juggernaut for MTV on there as well. And of course, NBA is ruling, and I think a news program jumped up there as well. It'll probably bounce back next week. With it's going to be the go home show for Full Gear. So I cannot remember what matches were advertised ahead of time on Dynamite, and I've been sick, so I've not actually seen Dynamite yet. I'm going to do that tonight, probably, if the NFL game sucks. So I'm going to try to catch up on AEW later, but I'd expect to bounce back next week with it being the go-home show for Full Gear.
Dina is saying the silver lining is the West Coast generally has less wrestling fans. I think that's a big misconception. I would say maybe they aren't as vocal or as loud as fans in other regions of the country in the United States, but to say they don't have wrestling fans there is kind of silly, because you're going to run a WrestleMania there in LA and it's going to sell out. Mind you, a lot of people are going to travel.
LA fans are pretty hardcore, dude.
Yeah,
like those Southern California guys, those guys are pretty hardcore.
Yeah, you have PWG is there. There's a huge wrestling community there. The Young Bucks are from there. There's a lot of wrestling. John Cena really broke out of wrestling from there, even though he's from Massachusetts. So there's a lot of big name talent that came out of LA, to say the least. And then on top of it, you have a lot of independent fans. LA Fights, the new promotion that GCW is launching, it's going to be like their West Coast brand, is based out of there. So to say there isn't fans in LA, I don't see it. But I don't know if this is a good move. I don't know if this is a good move right now.
Yeah, and you know how rowdy Seattle gets, especially when when Daniel Bryan was there in the WWE, now Bryan Danielson. You know, once AEW goes to the West Coast, which is something they haven't really done much of. I mean, they're going to be pretty vocal once Bryan Danielson shows up. So,
absolutely, a lot to cover there. Is this a trend you think based on what the programming is? Because we're 2 weeks out from Full Gear. If the number is like this next week or near this, that isn't a good trend.
I think a lot of it is trying to get back into the schedule of things again. You know, this is only their second week back from a Wednesday, and so once you've stepped away from that time, we've seen it before when they've stepped away from Wednesdays. It's taken them some time to get back into the swing of things, with people getting used to it being back on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going. I don't think it's an indicative trend. I mean, obviously, if the numbers are like this next week, then we got to look at what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, so that's worth noting. This is a show that had CM Punk on it. This is a show that had Kenny Omega on it. So that's worth stating here. And they've already had enough.
Though, Kevin. Interestingly enough, Andrew Zarian put out a tweet regarding that. You know, when it comes to these shows airing on the West Coast and the lower numbers. You know, TBS is going to be picking up Dynamite in 2022, and TBS is not going to like these 841,000 numbers in their demo. That's because they got a way broader reach than TNT. So who knows how this is going to work? I hope that this doesn't, signal anything bad for the company. But just like Jeremy said, in the last slump that they had, it took them a really long time to get back to where they were viewership-wise. So we just kind of have to keep a close eye on it. I do expect the numbers to go up next week because we got a go-home show. But after that, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then basically, I mean, TBS right now on Wednesdays is probably just running Big Bang Theory reruns. So it's not like AEW is going to AEW is going to give them a boost on Wednesdays. So either with whatever they bring, they're going to be happy with it, I think. So.
Hunter has a question with us. Hunter, we'll get to that in a little bit before we sign out here. Don't be afraid to post that again. If you guys have questions, you can sneak them in at the end of the episode. Let's jump into the WWE quarterly report that just came out. This is they put this out, comes out every quarter about their business. They did a quarterly call today. Nick Khan, high-ranking executive, was on the call. Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon also speaking on the call, revealing a lot of different things. And business is up for WWE, and a lot of different metrics they're up right now. They're reporting a lot of good information on this call. Specifically, they are saying that they had a significant increase in overall money, clearing about $255.8 million for the quarter, which is a really, really big boost. It's a boost of about $32 million year to year. So very big numbers for them. And Nick Khan on this call noted that he mentioned how the rights for Raw coming to Hulu are coming to an end at the end of 2022. And he says NBC has an active relationship and owner in Hulu. Peacock didn't exist then, indicating there may be some different changes with that. He says the battle for Raw rights will be intense and fun. Khan continues to expand the original programming slate. This is, of course, coming from all the different deals they have with Netflix and Mrs. and all those different things. They're going to do less of making their own films and kind of just licensing them and partnering with other people to make stuff like they did with Netflix or the Undertaker kind of like choose your own adventure show and stuff like that. So different things with their TV rights, interesting stuff with Raw, specifically streaming rights of it are going to become a little bit more interesting for them. And that is a huge show for Hulu, by the way. There's a lot of fans I know that just watch wrestling on Hulu and just watch that 90-minute cut of Raw on Tuesday or something like
that. Yeah, go
ahead, Jeremy.
I was just gonna mention that Khan also talked about the on that call. He talked about the pay-per-view schedule and talks about how there's not a competitive programming for sports on Saturdays, and so that's kind of been he kind of alluded to that being the reason why they're shifting to Saturdays. As opposed
with the pay-per-views, right?
Yeah, with the pay-per-views, as opposed to coming up on some bigger sporting events on Sundays. So he did bring that up in that weekend, and he mentioned that over 400,000 people are expected to travel to Vegas the weekend of July 4th, where Money in the Bank is going to be at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas as well. So they're going to be expecting some big numbers and some big revenue with their shows out there in July.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I think WWE is going to get railroaded by fans here in the time being here about these WWE releases that are expected today. Now, obviously, I know a lot of people are tuning in thinking that we're going to have news about that. We just simply don't. Nothing has come out yet. WrestleVotes is the first people that broke this story. What's with that, Jose? You got that report.
Yeah, so earlier today, right around 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, WrestleVotes, who nobody knows the identity of this Twitter handle, but he always he or she or they or this entity always puts out pretty reliable information when it comes to backstage news, rumors, any type of breaking news. As a matter of fact, between WrestleVotes, Sean Ross Sapp, and Andrew Zarian in the last round of the releases, these were the guys that got it right on the nose. WrestleVotes put out a tweet earlier today saying, I haven't confirmed names, but hearing WWE may be releasing a small number of talent today. Another uneasy day in Stamford. Now, last night, we did have a release, but it was an executive of creative that got released and left the company after 15 years. That person left the company. Nobody of a big name. Nobody you guys should really concern yourselves with. Talent-wise, we haven't heard any new names, anything confirmed. We haven't heard anything from Fightful, anything from PW Insider. Matter of fact, PW Insider put out a tweet to clarify that they have not reported on confirmed names that have been released. Now, this could be a coincidence because we did have the Q3 earnings call today. So that kind of lines up with what happened the last time, and maybe it'll happen within the next hour. It can happen within the next 24 hours. It may not happen at all. Maybe they're just playing us and trolling us. But the fact of the matter is WWE has had several rounds of releases since last year. So this could be another alarming thing for anybody who covers this type of stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, there's been a lot of fake tweets out there. That's why PW Insider had to put out that, because a lot of people with hardly any followers were sorting PW Insider for like Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, names like that, and that's all fake. So if you don't see it from their site or any other reputable site, don't believe it, especially on Twitter with somebody with just a couple hundred followers.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of people chiming in here. We'll just get to a couple questions while we're still live, because we got through our topics fairly quickly.
Slow day.
Slow.
It's a very slow news day. We've been waiting all day for this story to drop. Nothing dropped.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't tell you what's going on, because I'm sure you guys are seeing it in your timeline
and what's legit
in your feeds, and what's legit and what's not. And there's a lot of false information being put out there.
Yeah.
And we definitely have a good reputation of putting out accurate stories, and we don't want to give you anything that's inaccurate or not confirmed. So right now, like I said, WrestleVotes said there's going to be a round of releases. We're going to have to wait and see if that even happens.
Sportskeeda Wrestling, this one coming from Hunter Iggy. We'll give you the Iggy here. All right. If you want to get your questions on, hammer that like button. If you guys hammer the like button, we'll do more questions here. That's so you give us the engagement and the questions. We'll put you on screen and keep.
I see 55 of you right now, 56 of you right now. I want to see 56 likes, 56 hearts, 56 angry emojis, 56 laughing emojis. I want to see it all. Engage with the show, guys.
There we go. Hunter has a question. Sportskeeda Wrestling, I have a question. What is your thoughts on Brian Cage, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow, I believe he's Warlords, being misused in AEW? Do you think we will go to WWE, or they will go to WWE? Well, I don't know if they'll go to WWE. I will say this. Brian Cage is not the star he should be in All Elite Wrestling. He just isn't.
Agreed.
And I don't know if that's on him. I know there's some injury issues with him. We haven't seen him on television a long time right now. And he did have a storyline with Ricky Starks, and it just got dropped. Like you don't really hear about it. Powerhouse Hobbs is a powerhouse, but he's been taking a lot of L's recently. A lot of people think a guy like that shouldn't take L's. That's kind of a thing with wrestling. And some people are going to lose, and other people are not going to be happy about it. And Wardlow, the idea is they've long teased him at some point turning on MJF. And that would be a long, drawn-out program, but I just don't see it. I don't see it having to happen anytime soon. MJF seems like he has many other things to do, and Wardlow playing his muscly hand at his side is probably the best spot for him to be in right now.
Two of those three guys are still pretty new to the business, Powerhouse Hobbs and Wardlow. give them guys time. There is going to be a time where, there's going to be that major story with Wardlow and MJF, and Hobbs is good. CM Punk specifically called him out to wrestle him. They are both still kind of new, not necessarily green, but still new. So those guys, it'll just be a matter of time before something happens with those guys, because they're both talented guys. Brian Cage, though, I would not be surprised if he's one of the first guys to jump to WWE, to be honest. Obviously, we've seen his wife, Melissa Santos, be vocal on Twitter with being unhappy on how he's booked. So I would not be surprised if he's one of the first ones to jump to WWE if his contract is indeed up in 2022.
Yeah, and Brian Cage has a long resume. Like, he has a long body of work that people can follow. And the guy's legitimately good. He's great at everything. The guy is agile. He's a big powerhouse. He can do anything in the ring. And I think he would fit in WWE really well. He's beefy. He's big. He's Vince's type of demographic, except he's 37, which now they frown upon, right?
Yeah.
Bringing that comment up from Ronald Stallings
there you
here
go.
on YouTube. But to your point, though, when I look at someone like Wardlow seems to me that, like, even though he is not green, but like early in the business, he's a guy that I can see in WWE. He's a guy that I can see on a Monday Night Raw or on a SmackDown going up against, a Big E, going up against a Drew. Like, he's that guy that I can see, and he's talented enough that he can pull it off.
I got to agree with you there. I just think he's a guy who came into AEW with a lot of hype. They put the real rocket on this guy's back right away, and he got to have a match with Moxley, and then it's fallen off the map. And I think part of that is just AEW has a deep bench. There's a lot of people that are exciting there. There's a deep bench, and some people just aren't going to make the cut, just like they would in WWE sometimes. Come to some more questions here. Kamara Bell says, what's next for Kevin Owens? Because there's a rumor he's supposed to turn heel. Well, they are doing some interesting things with him. He's probably one of the best parts of Monday Night Raw this week. His match with Big E was very, very exciting. A non-title match with a Swifty ending and kind of making like a triple threat thing here. Is Kevin Owens going to go back to the old villainous Kevin Owens? Is Seth Rollins going to force him to, cheat? Like, he almost interfered in the match. Like, he punched Big E, then struck him when the ref wasn't looking. And then Kevin Owens doubted whether or not he was going to take advantage of the moment. And he did, but he still lost the match, right? And could they do something like that going into Survivor Series? And you also have Kevin Owens saying, hey, 3 months or 3 years, I don't care. I'm still going to try and be relentless and fight for the championship and be the valiant man. But here he is doing these shenanigans, if you will. I don't know what's next for him. I think it's interesting what they're doing. They did this with Bryan Danielson right up until the end. They said we're still going to make you a star. We're going to do some big things with you. And his final match on SmackDown was one of the best matches of the year. And WWE had him in the WrestleMania main event, and he still wanted to leave and go try something in All Elite Wrestling. Obviously, there's some appeal there, and everyone's saying, "Oh, he's just going to All Elite Wrestling. He's going to All Elite Wrestling." I don't know if that's a given. I really, really don't. And I think that's something we're going to have to follow, especially right up until the end of January, which is when that contract is supposed to be up. Kevin Owens' role in the Royal Rumble, to me, is going to be very interesting. What is his role going to be in the Royal Rumble?
That would be great if he can actually win the Royal Rumble, which is probably not likely because Brock Lesnar is probably going to be the one to win that. But I would love to see Owens get another. Don't
need to win the Rumble to get a match at Mania, man. I mean, you get an important match at Mania.
You're right. But how awesome would it be on his way out, Kevin Owens, to get a win at the Royal Rumble?
Breaking news.
What do we got? Breaking news.
Sean Ross Sapp has just tweeted that several WWE stars have been informed of their releases. First name out is Scarlett Bordeaux.
Whoa!
Oh, wow, that is unfortunate to hear here. We'll add this to the ticker if we can, if we could, Jose. Unfortunate for Scarlett. That's really, really unfortunate. I'll take off the reporting hat. I've gotten to work with Scarlett in the past. Scarlett and I worked together at 97.9 The Loop, a rock radio station in Chicago. I worked in a promotional role, and she was one of the spokesmodels for the Q87.7 Cuties. And I got to do some promos with her at AEW. A very, very talented, hardworking person. We haven't seen her on television in months. She didn't make the jump from NXT with Karrion Kross up to the main roster. I believe at some point when he was on NXT, she kind of fell out of the picture. We don't know exactly the circumstances of release, and she hasn't been on television in a long, long time. Very, very unfortunate. I really thought she was an exciting character and very much a different character. We've seen so many female characters on WWE that are purely just wrestlers in the last 10, 15 years. This was almost kind of an old school thing. Like, no, it's going to be a valet.
We got another one.
Frankie Monet.
No.
That's a surprise.
What?
That is a surprise. Yeah.
She was heavily featured. What happened?
Yeah. So this is certainly unfortunate right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. If you guys are watching right now, make sure you're sharing this video right now because I think this is important that everybody knows what's going on.
She came into the company with a lot of hype. The longest reigning Impact Women's Champion, has the pedigree, and we were just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with her in terms of, doing something huge with NXT in the women's division. And they did a couple of different things here and there with her, but they definitely cooled off with her since they did this reboot of the brand. I mean, she had very minor roles. I don't even think she had a match since they did the 2.0. I'm very, very surprised by this.
Well, no, I think she did have that title match with Raquel Gonzalez in 2.0. Wasn't that still in 2.0?
I think maybe it was, but I mean,
I think it was like maybe the last or the one before the last black and gold brand before they went into 2.0.
Okay. So this is
unfortunate. Wow, I thought
they
were really going to do
so
more.
This looks like NXT cuts to me then. With these first two.
Can we expect? There was an interesting question posted in the chat earlier. Can we expect some of these other people that haven't been used, like Oni Lorcan, Danny Burch, those type of people that haven't been used? Some of the other NXT talent that we've seen that hasn't really necessarily been used in quite a few months. So, like, are there other names that could be, released in this list?
Yeah,
I hate the idea of saying who's going to get cut, like who's in a position.
Like, I don't want anybody to be released, right?
I don't like that speculation because it's like devaluing people. like it devalues them as performers and like kind of says like, oh, well, who? I mean, I guess you like it because it's a guessing game, right? And you just want to guess and have your guess be right. But we're dealing with real people's lives, and you have people in the chat like Craig here saying Gable will be next.
I mean, yeah, it's like the people that do the fake news too. It's just that's ridiculous. It's reckless. It's pointless. But wow, I mean, they didn't even give Scarlett a chance. Who obviously, if you watched Impact Wrestling, knew that she could wrestle. Never even wrestled a match in her career at all. And Frankie Monet, Jesus, that's a talented woman that they just let go.
Unbelievable.
I wonder if Morrison's contract is up pretty soon, and he's given the indication that he's leaving.
You never know. I mean,
I don't know.
Roderick Strong is still with this company. He's the cruiserweight champion, and his wife got released.
Frankie Monet just tweeted, "Taya Valkyrie's back."
Yep.
So there you go. Maybe we see her back in Impact sooner than later. I think that would be a pretty easy thing to go do here. It's worth noting the standard non-compete for NXT talent tends to be 30 days. It could be different for people. Sean Rossap noting that Scarlett is a 30-day non-compete. So she could be back at events, or at least be on some television if she wants. I suspect she'll be involved with some independent wrestling events very, very soon.
What? She's not going to go straight to AEW?
The interesting thing with like Morrison, let's just say, what they're doing again in MLW is kind of bringing back the old Lucha Underground type of deal. They just brought back what was it, Katarina? Mil Mortis's girl? Katrina or Katarina?
I think
it's Katrina. Yeah.
Katrina.
They just brought her back.
However, you can say however you want.
Yeah, they brought her. They just brought her back. Man, yeah.
Very, very surprising here. Very, very surprising to see this, and we're expecting more. And of course, this had to happen while we were live today. So that's what we're doing. We're just waiting for awful news to share with you.
Well, at least it didn't happen while you had to go.
Yeah. Well, good thing that there's a change in today's programming, because at 8 p.m. you guys are going to be live with the Inside Cradle. It's normally recorded. You and Kevin and Rick Ucchino will be live. So as more of these releases come down the line, you guys are going to be covering it and talking about it because it's certainly going to be a very hot topic tonight.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. We'll be talking about it. It's sad news to report. It's never fun.
No.
And what's going to happen here? This is this is a part of what W's been doing for the better part of since the pandemic started. They've released over 100 different names. But a lot of people were saying they had too big of a roster to begin with, that they were hoarding talent. Now you let people go, then you're suddenly hoarding talent. So I don't know this. I mean, these are characters that did have a very reduced role recently, so that is something to say objectively. That doesn't mean I mean it. Jeremy, do we have any more here before we sign off?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, not yet.
What a bummer. So that'll do it for us today. Obviously, keep an eye on sportskeeda.com. We'll keep you updated there as well. Follow us on all the different socials. We'll be updating us throughout the day if we're getting another one of those, nightmare days where just they're releasing people every, 25 minutes or something like that.
I don't think there's going to be anything worse than what we had earlier this year, that it just didn't stop for like 4 hours straight.
Yeah.
It was a long, long list. It was a very depressing day that day.
Yeah, so hopefully we don't have a day that's nearly as bad as that. If you haven't done it already, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. Thank you to the millions of people that watched our
10 millions.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to say that.
Who watched our recent unmasking video about different people that were unmasked in wrestling, and that wasn't a part of the idea. We have some other cool videos I'm working on, including promo fails, the biggest promo fails. I just recorded the VO for that, so it's coming down the line. Don't know when that's going to drop. So definitely check it out.
Drake Maverick's been released. Danny Burch has been released.
Oh, Drake Maverick got let go, huh?
Drake Maverick's been released. Yep. I'm
Danny
trying to
Burch.
confirm
We were
right
just
now.
talking about this like 10 minutes ago. See, we're
Literally.
going to sign off here.
I
Can we
kind
stay
of
on?
knew what Danny Burch.
We can stay on.
We'll stay on.
We can stay on a few more minutes because we kind of knew about Danny Burch. Only Lorcan's probably going to be right down the line too. There.
Where'd you see those names at?
I saw him in the chat, and I'm looking right now on Twitter. I'm looking at the feed right now, just scrolling.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody mention those names yet. So
that's a bummer. Danny Burch, very talented guy from the UK, came up in that first wave of NXT UK talents they signed, was a big part of the NXT UK tournament. And that brand, of course, had a very, very successful tag team with Only Lorcan. I thought they were absolutely great. One of the best tag team matches I've ever seen in WWE. I saw it live at a takeover. Absolutely fantastic with Danny Burch, Only Lorcan taking on the Undisputed Era. Just an absolute banger of a match against Kyle O'Reilly. I believe Roderick Strong was his tag team partner, or the variation of it they had there. And just a really, really talented guy, but on the older side. If this is something where people are aging out and they're not doing something with you, you're in a bad position right there. You're in a position to be cut,
So I don't know if this means anything at all. Ember Moon just tweeted 13 minutes ago, all I can do is laugh, ...
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to mean her, or maybe it's in response to Frankie. Oh, wow. Fightful Wrestling just saying Frankie Monet wrestled 6 matches in NXT. That's it. 6. A gross underuse of her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
She was there less than a year. Less than a year, right?
Yeah. February 2021. So 9 months.
Wow. Well, guys, let's wrap up, because I know we're going to have more coverage at 8 o'clock tonight live with Kevin and Rick as these names keep dropping by.
And this Drake Maverick one is depressing as well, because he went through that tournament and all the different stuff, and he was getting released. They were going to let him finish the tournament, and then he went through all that just to it's depressing.
Yeah, agree.
All right, we'll be on live at 7, and we'll be sad with all of you.
8 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be just as excited as I am now.
Come on, Kevin, put a smile on for the audience. It's a sad news day.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
Tell them what you got going on, boys. Get your plugs in.
Tonight, I got Ricans of Wrestling. I'm going to be interviewing Cha-Cha Charlie and the mother lover, Jake Tucker. They're going to be in the main event of Pro Wrestling Action's Rise of the Titans show this Sunday. So we're going to have a nice conversation with those guys tonight live on Ricans of Wrestling, 8 p.m. on our YouTube and Facebook page.
You Find me on Lost in the Mid Card. We took a week off this week because I've been sick, but I have bounced back wonderfully tonight, thankfully. But usually we drop an episode on Thursday, so look for it next Thursday. We'll probably talk about our releases. We will probably also predict the full gear card. So search Lost in the Mid Card where you find podcasts. Hit the new feed for that because we're on anchor.fm now. And also the video version is on our YouTube. Just search for Lost in the Mid Card there.
Sorry.
Oh, more?
Right. Ember Moon just got released.
Boy.
More cover. We're going to have all the coverage for you guys at 8 p.m. The releases are going to continue. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, but the most recent one is Ember Moon.
Wow.
So keep your eyes on the Sportskeeda Wrestling channel. Set your notifications to see first. Set your notification bell right now because we're going to go live at 8 p.m. sharp, Rick and Kevin, not only on the Inside Cradle, but have more coverage on this breaking news. All right, guys? But remember, when you're watching wrestling, you got to enjoy it, guys. Please enjoy it.
Enjoy.
Or try to.
Or try to.
On
a day like this, you're going to have to try.
Yeah.
You're going to have to try, guys. All right. We'll see you at 8.